What's going on, everybody? Hell broke here. I'm going to get into a topic that I probably should have been into for years now. I've been remiss with my experience with being raised in a cult. I mean, a real cult. I'm not talking about normal upbringing in a moderate Christian home. Not talking about that at all. I'm talking to those of you who have suffered immensely your entire life because you were born into a fundamentalist cult of Christianity. Mine was Jehovah's Witnesses, and it is a mind bender. The people who can't free themselves are the most fucked up people you'll ever meet in your life. There's no other worldview that I know of that comes close to what they have, to what has been instilled in them, that was instilled in me. And I've said before, when I was growing up in it, the end of time as we know it was going to be 1975. So after I'm coming through puberty and realized I had such a lust and love and passion for girls and women, I always liked girls older than me. When I was 13, I liked them to be 15. When I was 14, and so on. I didn't go through a stage of not liking girls. The guilt started at 11 years old. Because I accepted the Bible as truth because my father said it was truth. So I've hit on the damage done to my mind and how I lived in fear because I knew there's no way of passing the test to meet God's grace until 1975. And when it came and went, I started cutting loose, and it only escalated over the years. And it wasn't until I finished my first 15 years run with alcohol, when I was 30 years old, I hit my first sobriety point, and I was dead, pretty much dead on arrival. My heart had stopped, stayed stopped for a couple of minutes, and this fine doctor kept me alive for 8 hours in the hospital. I went on to a 4.5-year stretch of sobriety, which was the foundation cornerstone, one of the big cornerstones of my survival. And I started letting go of the guilt in phases. I started letting go of the rage in phases. And I replaced it. You have to replace it with something. And I do not recommend Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. They're getting more and more religion-oriented. They don't have room for atheists in there. Only agnostics. And I used them in the first 2-3 years. And it wasn't so bad back in the late 80s. And I needed the camaraderie. Now, I'll give that it might be necessary to use AA for a year. And if you're a moderate Christian, it might fit you. But if you don't want anything to do with mysticism, and you don't believe in God, that ain't the place to be. Well, I started replacing all the philosophy and teachings that had been instilled in me since I was a tiny child with Confucianism. There was a name for the philosophy that came out of Confucius, and I can't bring it to mind right now. But in that, you can either be an atheist, you can believe in a God that's already been created by man, or you can create your own. But this is what you need to do, you folks who are suffering and can't find your place in the world. If you're an alcoholic, stay sober, however you can. Minute at a time, day at a time. I'm always here to help on that in comments. And depending on the comments on this will dictate whether or not I make more videos like this to help people. Here's one thing you got to get in your mind, friends. You're probably never going to feel like an average person. You're always going to feel like you're outside of the club. I still do. But I've turned it into a positive thing. Through my personality, I've discovered genetics and the learning I've done. I'm a proud member of the 5% of society that non-conform, that question everything. from people, and that 5% from people down on the level of me who have a small audience to people like Confucius. That's the 5%. Galileo. There's other examples, but I don't need to make a lot of them. Alexander Ocasio-Cortez is a member of the 5%. The people that make it so humanity is going to survive, that trigger the changes that have to be made, and then keep lighting a fire under the public ass until enough vote in the right direction. I want you to be as free as you can. I want you to use your experience to make yourself feel special. There's nothing wrong with some self-acknowledgement. I'm proud of what I've turned my cult living into. And you can be too. I mean, compliments are hard to come by, genuine ones. And there's a lot more negativity that comes at us, picking at us, criticizing this, that, and the other thing, than there is sheer, pure compliments. And sometimes the only place you can get one is from yourself. It's a rough world escaping from a cult. It's a hard, hard thing to do. But you can do it. Find like-minded people and stick together. Hit me up on comments. I'll help you with anything that I can. All right? Love y'all. Later.